Okay, let's try and unpack this. Imagine like a final exam for AI, but not just any test, one designed to push the absolute limits, maybe even called humanity's last exam. And picture this. A relatively unknown player suddenly, well, reportedly aces it, leaving all the big names, the household AI names, scrambling. So today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, this apparently groundbreaking achievement by Caesar Data on the Humanities Last Exam, or HLE benchmark. We're going to look at what makes the HLE so incredibly tough, how Caesar Data supposedly got this amazing score, and crucially, how it stacks up against models you hear about all the time. Grok 4, Gemini 2.5 Pro, maybe even ChatGPT-5. Our mission, like always, is to pull out the key insights, the really important stuff from the sources we've looked at, giving you that shortcut to being properly informed on this pretty significant AI development.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is how HLE was built specifically to be, well, Google-proof. It's not about just pulling up information or finding patterns in data it's already seen. This test was really engineered from the ground up. It demands deep reasoning, genuine understanding, the kind of thinking that, we normally associate only with human experts. It sets a completely different bar.
So, if it's not just about facts, not just being Google proof, what's the actual difference? What is HLE asking the AI to do? Like, what does thinking like an expert mean in this context?
That's a really good question. Because it's definitely not your standard quiz. The HLE is what they call a frontier-level academic benchmark. It was put together by the Center for AI Safety, CAI, and Scale AI. And its whole purpose is just to probe the absolute limits. AI, reasoning knowledge, all at that human expert level. We're talking 2,500 questions, all vetted by experts across loads of different subjects, humanities, maths, natural sciences, you name it.
Okay, so really broad.
Incredibly broad. And this wasn't just like a small committee. We're talking nearly 1,000 subject matter experts involved from over 500 institutions, 50 countries. A huge effort.
Wow.
Yeah, all focused on making a test that really shows where AI reasoning breaks down, not just how fast it can process data. It even has multimodal questions, text and images mixed. And it demands really precise, multi-step, logical reasoning. That's the key. And frankly, most current models, they really struggle. They hit limits in reasoning and also calibration. Sometimes they're super confident, but completely wrong.
Right. This isn't your average test then. It's really about seeing if AI can genuinely think like an expert, not just, spitbag facts it memorized.
Exactly. And you mentioned other benchmarks like MMLU.
Yeah, the massive multitask language understanding test.
Right. On that one, top models often score like over 90% now.
Which kind of suggests we've hit a ceiling with that test, maybe?
Precisely. It indicates saturation. The test isn't really pushing the AI frontier anymore. HLE was deliberately made to be much, much harder. A necessary step, really, to see if we're making actual progress in AI understanding and reasoning.
Okay, and this is where, as you said, the plot really thickens for this deep dive. You mentioned models were struggling to even hit, 10% on this thing?
If that, yeah, some were much lower.
And then along comes this relatively unknown name, Caesar Data. And they haven't just nudged past 10%, have they? They've reportedly smashed it. What exactly did they claim?
Well, this is the headline grabber. Their product reportedly achieved 55.87% on the HLE text-only benchmark, which is being described as the highest published score in the world for HLE as of, well, August 15th, 2025.
55%, from struggling below 10.
Exactly. It's a huge jump. If HLE is meant to find AI's reasoning limits, this score suggests Caesar Data might have found a fundamentally new approach. Maybe not just more data, but a different way of thinking, perhaps more human-like in how it breaks down problems. It's a really significant leap, potentially seismic if it holds up.
That is a massive jump, no question. But even so, 55%. That still means it's wrong almost half the time, right? So while it's a breakthrough compared to others, what does that gap tell us? Are we still miles away from true expert level? And beyond the score itself, what do we actually know about this Caesar Data product? You said the details are a bit sparse.
That's a very crucial point. Yes, 55% is breakthrough relative to the sub 10% scores, but absolutely, it's not human expert performance yet. Not close.
As for the product, okay, so the sources say that 55.87% score, it was achieved using something called 100 compute units, or CUs. Think of it like this. Imagine a human expert focusing intensely on one super complex problem for about a minute. That's roughly the computational effort involved for that score.
Okay, so quite a bit of processing power needed for that top score. Right. But interestingly, they also mentioned that in its alpha phase, the system runs at just 4 CUs, which suggests, there's potential maybe to optimize it or scale performance up significantly if you throw more compute at it.
Okay. And who's behind Caesar Data? Any big names backing them?
Well, this is interesting too. Early reports, mainly posts on X, seem to suggest they have support from some pretty heavy hitters. Organizations like Google, Meta, Stripe, Hugging Face are mentioned. Now, that signals potentially significant backing, not just money, but maybe access to top-tier research and development talent.
Okay, that is a serious vote of confidence if those names are involved.
What about transparency? AI announcements can sometimes be, well, full of hype. Are they putting their claims out there for checking? That's another good point. And yes, apparently they are. Caesar Data has reportedly invited third-party evaluations of its product, which is, a pretty positive sign in a field that can be quite opaque sometimes. It suggests confidence. They've also apparently benchmarked the system at different compute levels, 1 CU, 2 CU, 3 CU, 10 CU, not just the 100 CU one, which again suggests they're willing to show they're working step by step.
And what's the buzz been like? You mentioned posts on X.
Yeah, the early online reception based on those posts seems quite dramatic. Words like revolutionary are being used, people saying they're blown away by what it can do, calling it best in class, specifically for the HLE benchmark.
Revolutionary. Blown away.
Oh, those are strong words. But like you said, it's early days, mostly online chatter. Is anyone pushing back? Any skepticism? Or is the AI world just genuinely impressed right now? How much stock should we put in this initial buzz? It's always smart to be cautious with initial buzz, absolutely. That's why the call for third-party validation is so key here. While the first wave of comments seems overwhelmingly positive, the real proof will be in the rigorous independent testing. But look, if these claims are validated, it really does shake up the competitive landscape quite dramatically.
Okay, let's talk about that landscape then. How do the big players, the AIs we know, actually compare? Where does this 55% really sit?
It puts them way out in front based on current reports. So Caesar Data, again, is claiming 55.87% with scalable compute. Then you have Grok 4 Heavy from XAI that scored about 44.4%, but that was with tool use. Without tools, it's more like 26.9%. And Grok is known for its deep chain-of-thought reasoning, trying to mimic step-by-step human logic and agentic training.
Right, using tools often gives a boost. What about OpenAI and Google?
Okay, so GPT-5 from OpenAI reportedly around 42% with tool use, but drops to 24.8% without tools. It's a big multimodal mixture of experts model. And Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro, its best case seems to be around 26-27%. Again, that's likely with tools or multimodal inputs. Text-only scores are lower, maybe 18.8% to 21.6%. It's particularly strong on coding and science, apparently.
And just to remind us, the previous scores from models like GPT-4 or Claude 3.5 Sonnet were
much lower on HLE. OpenAI's earlier O1 model got 8.0%. GPT-4 was way down at 2.7%. Claude 3.5 Sonnet hit 4.1%. Even Gemini 1.5 Pro was at 21.6%. So yeah, most of these leading models were struggling to even break 30%, let alone 10 or 20%, especially without tool augmentation.
Wow. Okay, seeing those numbers side by side,
Okay.
it really highlights the gap, doesn't it? That 55.87% from Caesar Data just looks completely different. It's not just a step ahead, it's like a whole different staircase.
It really is. It suggests they've broken through some kind of accuracy barrier on these really hard expert reasoning tasks, especially HLE. It underscores just how significant this reported performance could be, assuming it's all verified.
You mentioned earlier that this isn't just about crunching numbers faster. HLE needs, like human-like nuance. Can you give us a feel for the kinds of questions that make it so hard, especially in areas like the humanities where AI often struggles with context and subtlety?
Absolutely. The humanities questions in HLE are notoriously difficult because they demand more than just factual recall. They require deep domain knowledge and really nuanced reasoning. So, for example, there's apparently a linguistics question. It asks the AI to analyze stress patterns in Old Russian phrases. The key is the AI has to figure out the rules, recognize patterns, use logic without having been specifically trained on Old Russian stress patterns. It's about deduction.
Okay, inferring rules from examples.
Yeah.
Tricky.
Very tricky. And another great example came from one of the contributors, Earth Anderson. It was a history question about the nickname August. Previous AIs failed because they couldn't tell the difference between how, say, the historian Suetonius used it versus how Rigord used it later. They missed the historiographical context. That showed a big gap in understanding semantics, context, the subtleties of historical interpretation.
Right, not just knowing what was said, but who said it and why it matters.
Exactly. And the implication here is that Caesar Data's high score might mean it handles these nuanced questions better, perhaps through better reasoning or maybe some kind of specialized training focused on these complex, context-heavy humanities tasks. That's still speculative, though.
It all sounds incredibly impressive, maybe almost too impressive for such a sudden leap. So with any big claim like this in AI, we need the caveats, right? What are the big question marks still hanging over this? What do we need to keep in mind?
Absolutely essential to keep perspective. Okay, first big caveat. We lack specific details about the product itself. The sources don't really spell out what Caesar Data's product is. Is it a whole new model, a fine-tuned existing one, a novel architecture? We just don't know the how.
Okay, the secret sauce is still secret.
Pretty much. Second, and this is crucial, these are, for now, unverified claims. The 55.87% score comes from posts on X, not yet from independent peer-reviewed verification in the sources we have. Now, the invitation for third-party checks is positive, like we said, but the rigorous proof isn't public yet.
Right. Claimed, not proving yet.
Got it. Third, there's a slight ambiguity. Is that 55.87% score for the entire text-only benchmark, or maybe just a subset like humanities where it might excel? HLE definitely includes humanities, but usually scores are reported for the overall test unless stated otherwise. Still, worth noting. And finally, there's always the ghost of overfitting. Could the model have somehow been trained too closely on data similar to the public HLE question?
Right, essentially memorizing the test instead of genuinely reasoning.
Exactly. Now, the HLE creators are aware of this. They maintain a private, unseen test set specifically to catch overfitting. So Caesar Data's performance will need to stand up to scrutiny against that private set to really prove its generalized reasoning ability.
Okay, lots of important context there. So wrapping things up for this deep dive, you came here wanting a shortcut to getting up to speed, and hopefully you've got one. The big takeaway: Caesar Data, a relatively new name, has burst onto the scene claiming the top spot on humanity's last exam, arguably the toughest AI reasoning test out there right now. They've set a potential new benchmark that the whole industry is now watching very, very closely.
Yeah, it really could signal a new phase, pushing past the point where older benchmarks felt saturated. It suggests a potentially significant leap in how AI might tackle really complex, nuanced problems that need more than just processing power. It points towards perhaps better reasoning.
So here's a final thought to mull over. If this leap is real, what does it truly mean? Is this the first genuine step towards AI that can grapple with human-level insight, nuance, maybe even wisdom? Or is it an incredibly impressive, but maybe still limited, technical achievement that just highlights how much further AI still needs to go to truly understand the complexities of our world? Something to think about. And if you want to dig deeper yourself, you can actually explore the HLE dataset. Check out lastexam.ai. And definitely keep an eye out for official announcements from Caesar Data, especially that independent verification will certainly be watching.